Yes, here we go. It is the T.N.F. It's the night we hand over the keys to you. We do have an open forum, of course. We kind of do that every show anyway, but it just gives it a different sort of title for the episodes, right? On a Thursday, normally it is the judge, but he is, of course, sunning himself on holiday with his good lady. So, look who's back on the bus. Mick, great to have you back. Many of you will recognise him from many outings, particularly with the good man that is Phil on Friday Feeling, things like this. But great to have you on. Bumped into Oasis. We chatted about where you were at, and you were quite up for coming on the channel. So thank you for joining us, mate. Have you got over the Oasis come down? The Oasis depression, as it's being called, actually in quite a lot of quarters in the media now.
It's a real thing, isn't it? Let's say in a high the whole weekend, and then come Monday morning, it was like a crash back down to earth, wasn't it? Well, it's worth every minute. Russell, I'm sure you said the same as well. It was just to see them again. I've seen them live before, years ago.
Yep.
Never get an opportunity again. So it was just that high the whole weekend, and then it's coming midweek. You do come crashing back down to earth with a bang, didn't they?
No, of course you do, mate. Of course you do. That tells you you've had a good time, you know. But it was great to see you then, and thanks very much for sticking by what you said with a good few pints in both of us and coming on the channel this week. Nice one. We'll do all that good stuff. We'll get stuck right in. All that good stuff means give us a like, give us a share, buy some hair, whatever it is you want to do with hair. Nobody cares. Piesports.com, 12.5% off tasty pastry treats when you use the code BUS1888. Obviously, if you are subscribed, please hit the bell. Shows other than the Thursday one, which is pretty staple for the early evening slot. Other than that, it could be Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays that I'm on with Jonathan. Solo shows could be any of the 7 days a week. So please hit the bell so you don't miss the bus live. Obviously, you can still catch up on YouTube and all your favourite podcast platforms. And of course, there is the option to become a member. Loads of these are. We really appreciate it. It helps keep the wheels on the road. But again, it's not, compulsory or anything like that. All the content remains free. Mick, as this is a wee bit of an overdue catch-up in terms of the Celtic sphere, first, I just want to get a broader thought from you on, since we don't need to dwell on the Scottish Cup final, but how you feel Celtic have treated this summer, knowing there was always going to be a playoff round to ensure Champions League qualification, knowing that 2 first-team assets have departed in the sense of Hugo in January, Nicholas Kuhn in the summer, knowing Jota won't be available to 2026. What's your sort of overriding feeling right now? Albeit we still have time in the window, but what's your overriding feeling how this summer has sort of played out now that the season's already begun?
Russell, I think it's scandalous, to be perfectly honest. I mean, we have known we have this qualifier this pre-season. I think it was April last year. We found out we're going to face a qualifier. So we've lost Nicholas Kuhn, who provided a lot of goals and assists last year, to be honest. Then obviously we lost Kyogo in January as well. So we lost our goal scorer. And then to begin in, we started the game on Sunday. We started with Forrest, who's 34. This is not a slight against Forrest. Forrest has been brilliant for us, but he should not be a regular starter every week for us at this age. He should be maybe second or third choice, I think. And then you're playing Maeda. It was not out of position, but it's not his favourite position. He said openly he prefers to play through the middle. And you saw the goals you got last season.
Yeah.
Through the middle.
There's rumours as well, Mick, that apparently that was kind of part of his contract sort of talks. It's rumours, of course, we can't confirm it. Apparently that was kind of included in the talks, was we see your future as, leading the centre forward sort of situation. But if you're not going to sign any wingers, how, like if you put Ida on the bench and Maeda through the middle, that winger situation gets worse.
Oh, no, 100%. Like, even before the first game of the season, that was my kind of deadline, was to get wingers in before the start of the season, basically. Never mind the playoff date, you know what I mean? The cut-off for that. Should be organised before the season even started. And in fact, it's not even that. It's the reports you hear about bidding $1.5 million for guys that are valued at $6 million. And stuff like that. It's getting more sickening day by day, Russell, to be honest. You keep checking and in blind faith that they might come up with something, and there we go. That's the deadline today, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, but I think you can still add like a wild card or two before the game, up to 24 hours before. 24 hours. But again, imagine relying on that impact, Mick. Oh, like you're putting people then under the cosh to actually be feasible, to be influencing the outcome of this 2-legged tie. And that doesn't make any sense to me. I also don't understand. Celtic used to have a mantra where we don't budget for the Champions League, we budget for the Europa League. If we get Champions League, we can revisit the window with a different outlook. Yeah? They were pretty shit at it. I think we counted up on our show recently 4 out of 11 or 4 out of 12 or something success rate in terms of navigating qualifiers for the Champions League. So, of course, their budget then made total sense because Europa League was the order of the day in the main. Now, they can't have it both ways. 3 years of guaranteed group stage Champions League football in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Now, money, obviously, as we know, for player trading has been through the roof of late. Jota's 25 million, Matt O'Reilly's 30 million, the Frimpong money, the Kyogo money, the Nicholas Kuhn money. For me, you can't have your cake and eat it. Do you want to build from a position of strength, or do you want to regress again and then get back up to where you were? Or do you want to keep going? And that's where I think a lot of the frustration I certainly have lies, because you're in a great place. You pat yourselves on the back for the financials, but they're not a trophy. They're not Champions League football. What they are is that's just numbers on a spreadsheet and a bank balance. Of course, it's real money, and I get that. But it's not something for fans to celebrate or that fans can see on the park. And at the very least, what you want to see is a better version of Celtic come opening day of the season, or once the summer transfer window closes, is probably a fairer way of putting it, right?
Yeah.
You want to see, once that window closes after every summer, a stronger version of Celtic than the year before. Right now, we're choking for replacements, not even evolution. Replacements. That makes no sense to me.
Robert, they're not even standing still. Russell, we've regressed a lot from even the tail end of the season, really. I just think it's scandalous, the lack of preparation, the lack of ambition. Just by the board, the way they're bidding for players, almost insulting the other teams. Yeah, what is going on? You can't see you've got 100 million in the bank, which comes out of the accounts, obviously, and then teams know that anyway. I think even now we're paying something like 7 million a year corporation tax because I've got that much money in the bank. Do you tell me that could be invested in a player on the team?
Yeah, it's a great point. And do you know the best bit is we're not the only club with these challenges as well. Oh, because people know we're cash rich, they overprice players, and we're not going to play that game. You look at a club like today, like an English Championship, just promoted to it, Wrexham. Yes, obviously they're heavily backed with a series on the telly, and obviously Hollywood stars that are at the helm. However, notwithstanding that means people are acutely aware of where they're at financially and what bargaining power, selling clubs would have for them. It's no different. Guess what? They're getting deals done. And they don't have games that will define their season looming. They don't have games with 30, 40 million risk attached to them looming. They don't have any of that. Yet they seem to be able to overcome this hurdle of people know we're cash rich, people can rip the piss out of transfer fee, yet they're still getting deals done. As I say, you can't have it both ways, mate. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. Like, I just think it's amateur hour as well, Russell. I don't know if you've heard there's different reports come out that Rodgers gets on well with that Paul Tidsdale, who's the head of recruitment. Basically, Rodgers is well and the scouting team stuff. They've got a good relationship. They identify players who Rodgers okays, and then it's down to Nicholson and Chris Mackay to go and get the deals done. And apparently, the Michael Nicholson and the head of chief of finance, Chris Mackay, they don't fully trust the scouting team. So
see on that, where does your role begin and end? Because what their job is to support the football operation. You employ these people, you have to trust their football nous. You can't then wade in and decide you're not supporting it on the back of, I think I know more about the football side of this deal than the guys I employ do, who are experts in that field, right? Guys that have never laced a boot in their life are going in and deciding what they think's a fair price, what they think's a fair fee. It's undeniable. And we speculated on this on the channel about 2-3 weeks ago. I said, look at the reports coming out for Legia Warsaw, saying it was very odd. Look at the report coming from the Slovan Bratislava striker, ironically, who had his heart set on Celtic and been told, I think, probably by the football guys, how keen they were to get him. and then was left utterly in the wilderness because he's told the club, I want that move, heart set on it, and whatever their fee was I think more than double what Celtic offered, you know? Like, and he said, I've never been, it's so strange. And it tells you there's two sides of Celtic coming. He speaks to football guys, you get excited, then the financial guys come in and undermine and also go against what the football guys are saying. Their job is to support the football operation to the best of their ability, not actually contradict it or give their say on what they think is, well, I'm not sure if I rate him actually highly enough. That's not really the case. Don't employ these people if you think you know better. Do it all yourself.
No, 100%. That's the way Peter Lawwell ran things. Once he was de facto director of football, you know what I mean? But no, it's just ridiculous the way to do things. I mean, Rodgers obviously said he's happy to stay here. He's open to signing a new contract, and by all means, he sounded as if he'd like to stay here. As long as the club prove their ambition and prove they want to build and progress and push further on in Europe. And what's he thinking? He's identified wingers and stuff like that. Jacob Broom, I think, from Go Ahead Eagles. They've been told a price of $6 million. What do we bid? 1.5. Then say, no, we'll up it to 1.75. It's like,
do you know what's annoying as well, Mick, right? But these stories get more credence now because the amount of examples over the years you have of Celtic doing this. That story could be powder puff, right? It could be even a journalist's creative license to now go 3 clubs chasing Celtic are sniffing about at the bottom of it because it's so believable. Celtic have expressed an interest. Celtic are considering. You could put that at the end of any transfer rumour now, and it gets credence, it gets credit, it gets believability because of the amount of examples we've got. That's actually parody of what your transfer model looks like in terms of recruitment. Of course, as I always try to point out, when it comes to player sales, they seem to think it's a completely different market. And these clubs do seem to have this incredible unawareness of how tricky markets can be. They seem to have this incredible ability to get deals done early. They seem to be able to navigate, probably in some cases, with less cash reserves than Celtic, deals done for our players. We're not shy in the departure room. Yet the arrivals lounge remains something that you'll see faces you don't recognise in, faces that are on EasyJet flights, Ryanair flights. No one's coming in on the Emirates, private jet. Yet when it comes to selling, of course you're worth 17 million and we expect it now. It's incredible the contradiction in terms that they are in terms of selling players and buying players.
No, definitely. I mean, you can tell as well when you get into negotiations after the players identified, and I've heard this of different people, that Nicholson and Chris Mackay see it as they've got to go and win the deal now rather than just signing the player. So the negotiations, it's a deal they've got to win.
Where do you think that trait comes from, Mick?
Well, it's one man into Lawwell. We all know that, don't we? 100%. And it's a legacy issue. Like, I don't really like that saying, to be fair, but it's true. Like, the fact he's still in the building, and obviously Michael Nicholson worked under him for years, and funnily enough, he's picked up the same traits in transfer dealings. It's a hell of a coincidence, isn't it? So
it's not. When you keep such a large character, such a large fixture of how Celtic's financial dealings, including transfers, who's been front, left, and centre of them over the last 20 years, and he's still in the building. You don't think he's got an influence on how other people behave or act, and it's not going to be that this is how Celtic do business. This is so it's integrated or it's ingrained in whoever it is that now has the chief exec role or head of recruit. The football guys are getting undermined by guys that are, I'm not saying they're puppets to all of that. It's natural if you work for any business that you sort of, if your boss has promoted you to, a higher position and then you're working closer with him, that you're going to be undeniably in a mindset where you replicate what you think they would think. There's going to be, That's how you got there. So when these guys get the best paid job they'll ever have in their life, thanks to Uncle Peter, what's his teachings or his values or, his principles when it comes to transfers? Of course they rub off. They'll be ridiculous. So whilst he's always there, and you can give him whatever fucking title you want, right? Whilst he's there, that shadow looms large. And it is quite clearly all his footprints, his fucking fingerprints that are over some of these transfer dealings. I accept, by the way, some will be conjecture, some will be rumour. I totally accept that. But notwithstanding it, they're easy rumours to believe when it comes to Celtic, thanks to a legacy issue, as you say, of how we go about bringing the best quality of player to Celtic in a prompt, astute manner that tools us up for crucial early season games, which is nothing new this year. Yes, we've had the luxury 3 years group, right? But this format of having to play qualifiers but to actually get in the Champions League is nothing new to the tenure of Lawwell and co. This is a road they've navigated it poorly. People forget that as well. Call them great businessmen. The amount of years that they've missed out on Champions League money is more than double what we've got in the bank right now. They're a wee stat.
100%. And you and Mark done a brilliant breakdown a couple of weeks ago when you looked at the qualifiers before. And we missed out on 4, didn't we? Over the last 10 years.
No, I think we'd only qualified for 4 out of the last 12.
That we did qualifiers. I remember the 4. You think back to the games and stuff like that. I mean, it became a running joke. The qualifiers that were going to start near Beaton at centre half because we never went unprepared for games, and it was the same traits all the time. I remember I think Rodgers first came back. All right, we gave him money for Sinclair and stuff, and Dembele was already signed. But we started with Owen O'Connell, the Champions League qualifier, and near Beaton, I'm sure as well. That was our centre backs, and so then you bring Lawwell back into the building. Of course, the accusations are going to be there that he's still has far too much influence. And you see the way Nicholson the way he's conducting transfer business. It's got Peter Lawwell written all over it, so I don't care what anybody says. And I actually do think he's just a puppet. I'll be honest with you. I think he's just an empty suit. It's just Lawwell and name basically. He's there to take
a ventriloquist puppet of what Peter's values and attitude is towards how he thinks Celtic should go about business. To me, it is, as I say in the title of tonight's episode, it's actually mere miles away than what Kazakhstan is. The board are from reality. They have to really, honestly, start looking at this is insane. We're going into a Champions League qualifier, which we've not had to do last year or the year before. But let's just look at last year, and we're weaker than what we were when we had guaranteed football. This time we really do need to obviously we need to overcome whoever it was that we drew, by the way, and we got a king draw in terms of quality of opposition, right? But imagine not thinking, right, thank you for the 3 years guaranteed group stage. We are now going to utilise those funds and invest to make sure it's year 4 in a row in the big boys league. I don't understand it. You would think these guys haven't left the club that had. You valued a guy at 17 million, and you don't think that requires a replacement. You had a striker who was your top scorer for 3 years in a row, or at least 2, right? Get 10 million for him, and don't think you need a pedigree, ready to go replacement. You also do this the 1 year where you actually don't have guaranteed Champions League football this time. You're going to need to be at your absolute best and make sure to get those money. So I keep getting told that they're brilliant money and they manage the club brilliantly. It's bizarre. There's no business that is as unaggressive as Celtic that's genuinely an amazing success. If you've got zero aggression in business, zero belief, zero front foot pushing, trust me, you're a steady business, not a great one, not a brilliantly run one. Right? That's the way I see it.
Definitely. I mean, do you think of the Champions League money we have missed out on, the prize money and stuff like that, all the years we've missed out because we're unprepared for qualifiers?
Mick, this is the point I was kind of trying to say. We've got a cash reserve that gets celebrated of, say, between 75 and 100 million. I think it's probably about 100 million now, right? the cash we've missed out of those 12 attempts at qualifying for the Champions League equates to around 200. Double what we speculate we've missed out on. So double what we celebrate we've got in reserve, we have missed out on in terms of qualifying for the Champions League. Think on that.
Yeah, definitely. Russell, let's be honest with you, the board they're just out of touch in every way, even with like the general support and the way they treat supporters. I mean, even with simple things like even going to the game 2 weeks ago, the Mirren game, walking up and it's half the side of the stadium, the big billboard thing, even that was half missing. And you go inside and it's the stadium looks tired now, but that's putting it mildly. Just
Yeah,
not even made,
so these are the things you still slag them off for. The other side.
I know exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's the simple things like that. It's even just do up. It's talk about the basics. Give it a lick of paint every so often. You know what I mean? And change the catering or whatever, and get hot water on the toilets and silly stuff. But that just shows even stuff as basic as that. That's their attitude. They always scrape by me doing the absolute bare minimum, and there's no nod to the supporters base to keep the money coming in who fund Celtic. You know what I mean? There's never any nod or appreciation or anything. They always get by with doing the bare minimum.
And they have a reliance on a huge element of the support that are blinded for whatever reason. I think because it's Celtic related, and they just love Celtic that much that they can't bring themselves to cynically look at things or look at things with a impartial prism when it comes to just facts that you're dealing with. And you'll get negative output on social media, X, for example. Oh, everyone's a businessman now. All this sort of bollocks, right? See, all of us, what right have we ever got to judge a player's performance? I include Yang in that, for example. If the qualifying criteria to ever judge anyone at anything they do as a profession is you've got to have done it as well, or you've got to be doing it as well, right? That would make every football fan then absolutely forbidden from making a judgment on any Celtic player unless they played at that level themselves, right? Those sort of arguments are what drive me mad. And again, I break it down. It's not simple. As I was saying to Mark a few weeks ago, I went, chimney sums I wasn't bad at. I'm not going to say Pythagoras theorem, algebra was all my fucking, sort of go-to, success at high school. Of course it was. I can't even string a sentence together either. But when it comes to chimney sums, I wasn't bad at them. Basic chimney sums show you surpluses of cash going up the way, subtraction of what Celtic's output is against all the chimney sums that go up the way of what Celtic bring in is startling. And then you get to, to me, always was the product in the park is the main thing. That's the film you're going to see when you go to the cinema. That's the product in the park is why you buy your ticket. Now, okay, you're tight as fuck with that. We're almost used to it. Almost people are becoming passive. I include the manager. But when you're saying as a season ticket holder, Mick, toilets don't have hot water. I look around and I feel a tired building. That's damning, mate. Because there's just no excuse. What's that for? Oh, we're still waiting on a rainy day. Well, when there's leaks in the fucking roof. What rainy day he's always talking about? That's bizarre.
I know, exactly. But that's just symptomatic of a thinking, Russell. It's again, it's a bare minimum stuff like that. See, if you're, it's well obvious, you don't see us as fans, right? They've got no time for the fans. They're proving that time and time again, right? But even if they're treating us as a customer base, see if any business treats their customers the way they treat our support, they wouldn't be in business anymore. Because the customers would stop coming. They just take for granted because our supporters, because of that loyalty, we'll still keep going. Or they'll still turn up anyway. We can get away with murder here, basically. They'll always be here. And because they've got a waiting list to everything as well, they've got that fallback. So it's not even a case of fans protest, whatever. I don't want to say I'm not going to take a ticket for this game or even threat to give up season tickets. I'm like, that's fine. Just get somebody else in to get it. We'll take it off you.
We go to these Champions League qualifiers, Mike, right? Now, it's not actually the draw we all wanted either. Everyone had the 5-0 in their head of Slovan Bratislava, easy peasy, all good. And maybe those who are in denial or maybe just genuinely can't see what they're looking at because of total Celtic bias, which you can also understand right to a point. And I do get that. But now the draw's been made and it's Kazakhstan. Now, please, Mick, tell me any other football club you could ever think of that would on the back of 3 years group stage Champions League football, i.e., I don't know, 120 mil all in,
more than that, probably.
Going for their 4th year in a row in said competition, know what its value is because of what it's done at the books, right? Know what the value of it is, and has a support base now with a large percentage, let's speculate 30%, right? Let's lowball it, 30%, that are seriously nowhere near as confident as what you would think a team with, as I've just described, recent history of playing a Kazakhstan team to make the group stage. And trust me, the mood is split. I do think the majority of people think we'll scoosh it, or we'll certainly get through comfortably. But imagine even any other club with the advantages we've just discussed, I've just described there, having such a large percentage, and let's say 30%, that are generally now looking at us going, you know what I mean? But a Kazakhstan team, this should be something you've got complete faith in because you've seen the sum of moving parts that is a big football club over the summer tooling up again. We're insulted we've got to play a qualifier this year. That's the attitude you want. Oh, we'll deal with that. No. The way this window's actually played out, mate, this fixture against Kairat, if that's the right pronunciation, if this fixture against Kairat was any other club with 3 years in the bank, of the last 3 years in the bank of Champions League money, nobody's worried. 1% of fans who are just naturally like that, right, are worried. We've got a huge percentage of ours worried about it, and I include myself, who's not feeling overly confident. Now, that to me is an utterly ridiculous position to find yourself in. And do you know what? Only highlights further what a lack of activity can do. And how your excuse before used to be, we just speculate for Europa League football. Well, you've just had 3 years of Champions League football, right? 3 years of it. Surely it was time to speculate for Champions League football again this year on the back of that.
Oh, definitely, Russell. And just the back of the Kazakhstani team, even like we've never had an easy game against the Kazakhstani opposition, especially in the return leg when we're away from home. Remember, we played Karagandhi, we played Astana, we played Karabakh, and we've always had tough
Hapoel Beersheva, where were they from?
Israel.
Is that Israel? I remember, because I remember Rodgers having a couple of. He was talking about it at his media conference today, mate. Like the aggregate scores, he could still ring off and that. You're going, fuck, Karagandhi, that takes you back. Did we play him twice? Was it Karabakh we played twice?
Karabakh we played twice. Play Karagandhi and we get beat 2-0 over there. And we turn it round in the second leg. 1-3-0. So that shows you there's no easy games, and if you go in as unprepared as we are, then it's got red flags all on it and warning signs. Like it's the fact
go on.
Yeah, the fact that we've known this for a few days now, and we've been working on deals anyway, Russell, the players should be in. But the fact we're 100%, but the fact we've now drawn a Kazakhstani team and there's still nothing been done before the deadline. I know there's wild card time, right? 24 hours before it, but you can't throw in players.
That's no way to do structural, proper, acting like a big club business. That's not how you do it.
No.
That's not how you do it. Like, imagine these guys in charge of Liverpool, right? I mean, they might think we're a far cry for that, right? And it's a different level altogether. Just look at the attitude. That's the bit I'm talking about, not the money spent. The attitude is they won the league last year, right? Unexpectedly with a new manager in charge, who they didn't really give many tools to in terms of funding last summer. See this summer, once they're in a position of strength, oh fuck, that's where you build from, right? Not waiting for finish 4th in his second season, so we better now spend. No, they finished first and are now aggressive in the market. Now, I don't know what it takes for Celtic to be more aggressive. No one's expecting us to sign £100 million players before anyone even thinks that was the comparison I'm making. It's the attitude I'm talking about. Building from positions of strength. And by the way, a position of strength that's actually weaker than it was, say, 2 years ago, such as being a poor coefficient performance. A position that's already in jeopardy going into next season if we were to win the league again this year. It'll be more qualifiers, by the way, just so you know. It won't just be a playoff.
That's right.
Right? Why are we going back the way in terms of that? But rather than thinking, there's an achievement, 3 years group stage football, we've done okay, we build on that. We grow for that. It's unbelievable the difference. But yeah, when it comes to the Kazakhstan draw, a rude awakening for some people. It seemed very zen. I think about, that maybe would happy clap, whatever you want to call it. And it was a lot of it then became the assumption that Slovan Bratislava, we pumped 5-0 last year, would be playing. Kazakhstan's a long way away, mate. And provides, I think, more obstacles than what the Bratislava tie would have. We've been drawn at home in the first leg as well. What's your thoughts on the fixture and obviously the sort of surprise, shall we say, that wasn't the team that people kind of would have preferred it to be?
I know I understood folk being kind of optimistic about if it was Slovan Bratislava, but you need to remember as well, we've lost a lot of attacking talent since the Bratislava game as well. We've lost Kuhn, we've lost obviously Kyogo, he played. And we're starting Ida, so that's another setback right away. But but no, they're not the same team. They don't have the same firepower as last season when we played Bratislava. I still think you're right, it'd been the better with two teams we could have drawn, 100%. But facing a trip to Kazakhstan, and you've got to win convincingly at home, I think, really, before the away tie, because you don't know about these countries. Anything can happen over there, as we've seen in the past. They've struggled for results and whatever. But so if you're in a full strength team and everything, you'd got signings in, I still think it'd been a tricky tie, but we're getting in like this. We've got Maida, Yang, Forrest, and Ida. That's our attacking options. There's not even anything from the bench.
I think it's always fair to say with the Champions League, there's no easy games, and that includes navigating qualifiers, playoff rounds, right? And I accept that. And I always go back to it. Therefore, you must treat the competition with the respect it deserves. Football's biggest club competition in the world by a country mile deserves respect. And I don't think we have, in this legacy or this era, whatever you want to call it, the last 20 years, we've given enough kudos to it. We've given us enough sort of looking at it with the awe that it deserves, and also with a sense of eventually what you hope is it's not a pipe dream, it's belonging. And they managed to change it to, we're so lucky in the Champions League. Woohoo! That's a mindset shift from the first 3 years of this century. It's a mindset shift that they've implemented. So they've allowed expectations to fall, and then achievements to be over-exaggerated that aren't as amazing, really, as what they could be. And a club that always evolves, moves with the times, accepts its place to an extent. But I think whatever they accept Celtic's place as a football club in European standing is way lower in terms of ranking than what I think you or I would, or many others, and include Brendan in that.
100%, Russell. I mean, we should be pushing, really, to be the best club we can be. We know we're never going to win the Champions League, probably. That's just a given, right? But we should at least try and be the best we can be. I mean, even teams like Copenhagen, teams like that as well, other teams like that. And they're not the biggest budgets are playing the best leagues. But tell you what, they spend money and they try and improve every season, and they give a Champions League a go. They give themselves the best chance. And Copenhagen, I've got what, a ground at 17,000 or something. Like, don't get wrong, I might be well wrong. It might be even the 30,000 or something, to be honest. But we've got 60,000 every week. We've got money in the bank. We've got a proud history, obviously, in Europe, whatever. A big supporter base. So why are we not pushing on and being the best we can be? That's all supporters ask, is being the best that Celtic can be. And if that should be the people that run the club, that should be their sole aim as well. And they're just not interested. I mean, remember Peter Lawwell came out and said that a few years ago. We just can't compete. Like, all right, so we're throwing the towel in. We're just not. Why are we in Europe then? Just to take the money, the prize money.
The same guy who also reminded you, that the reason Nicholson's salary is what it is, and other directors, is because you get what you pay for. What an ironic thing to say. What an ironic, because he wants to get tenfold more for what he pays for. Tenfold more, right? When it comes to as well the Champions League thing, what frustrates me the most is, see, when the more you hear people, we can't attract players, right? We can't get them. Nobody wants to go. See, the more you're in that Champions League regularly, guess what? More players want to join you. The argument, the fact of the matter is, we don't try to get players that would surprise you anyway. So see the rumours that we're looking for right now, or the actual incomings. No one's expecting it to be ones that blow our minds. No one's expecting any of that. No one is. We're expecting a wee bit of drive, a wee bit of purpose, a wee bit of supporting the football department for crucial ties that even the finance guys must go, shit, it'd be good if we get that money in, right? We're not even doing that, all right? So that isn't enough for me whatsoever to justify you get what you pay for. Silly remarks like that. I hate that. It's condescending, it's patronising. And as I say, when you look at actually how you do navigate Champions League qualifiers, you've lost out on more money than you've even got in record cash reserves right now. Double has been missed than what's currently in these lauded financial accounts reserves. It's bizarre. We'll get to Brendan today. Obviously, we've noticed a shift in him, have we not, over the last week, mate? I want your thoughts on that first and foremost, in terms of his attitude to, but it's pretty much been the same questions for the last 3 weeks.
I know you can say I was understandably getting more up by it, asking the same questions every week. But what chances he got? He's not getting any players in. And the most telling thing, I think he said, was it Friday last week? He said you can tell those people at Celtic you don't want me to be here. So I don't. It's not, maybe if it's not ever going to fans. I know there's certain people that still didn't want him back after the first time. Right, I get that. Fair enough. But you can tell it's a boardroom level, and that's starting to come out in his frustration now. He talks about his new contract, and it's all about showing ambition, this and that, showing a drive. If you want to push on,
I'm not here to maintain. I'm here to evolve, sort of rhetoric, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And so to come out and say that last week after the comments that the transfers of it was telling, I think, and I generally, the longer it's going on, I think he's been forced out. Also, I'm not going to lie about it. I think he's been forced out and undermined, so they can get somebody in, a cheaper manager for next season who they can control better and who won't ask too much money. I would expect these big money players and wouldn't really do it at all, basically. You know what I mean? But
it's strange. I mean, if that theory is right, it still goes against the most important thing, and that's Celtic still making sure they enter the biggest competition. So, whether it's Brendan or not, there's many ways to piss him off over the next 12 months to ensure that he doesn't, pine for a new deal, and you can let him go if it is, as you say, getting a more easy to manipulate manager, or easy to have a wee bit more of a control of manager, which I dare say you're probably right. They would prefer that, right? But in the meantime, you need these, like every club can't just not tool up or try and make sure we've got the best possible chance of entering a competition that literally brings in 30 to 40 million pounds to the football club, regardless who's in charge. That's their remit. And I think I've noticed with Brendan now, what he's doing is, and he is clever with the Jedi mind tricks, right? And I think rather than, throw a strop or be a wee bit narky or use silly phrases like terminado and stuff, right? See, this time he's going, I'm not giving them fuck all. Because they're going to point to it as an example as working my ticket every time. So now he's went total other way, but he's now just saying, I generally don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Hopefully. And what that means is you're distanced then from what you're saying then, Brendan, for any failing or success of the recruitment drive. Because what you're doing is basically, I think, it is a shit show. It's not how I would have the shit show running if I had more hands on the reins for how the transfer window works. But inadvertently, he's distancing himself, but being polite as fuck. So they're notorious for getting deals late. I'm hopeful, of course. Always hopeful. They've done a great job here. Celtic's been, so well run. They're not given that bait that they're looking for. And in that, I think Brendan's also coyly saying, I'm fuck all to do with this. This is not a Brendan Rodgers production, how this window is playing out.
Definitely. Also, I think what he's cleverly doing as well is he's turning it on the board, and he's like the is it Visa?
But he only goes up there when the podcast is on. It's bizarre.
I've seen him before.
Honestly, aye, we celebrity face.
He's like the fans know as well that if there isn't any transfer, obviously progress, whatever, it's on the board. He's like the board note he wants, and it's up to them to deliver it. So he's leaving the fans under no illusion that it's the board's responsibility, and it's on them now.
But he's doing it. He's killing them with kindness.
Exactly.
That's the difference this time.
Yeah.
He's making sure that there's nothing that you're going to be able to play on repeat with silly sort of digs that, and it's silly. I mean, the last time he tried a different approach, and this is what frustrates me as well. I mean, obviously I put up one of my Twitter posts. I mean, expecting the best, Mick, as always. What's that for? And you know, someone's came in going, do you know what the difference is right now? We had a real manager last time. Big Ange forced the ball to make changes. Rodgers sits there, you know, wetting the bed or what's that effect, right? And I'm like, see if you read that back. The fact that any manager has to force the board to get players is still surely the board then who are the nucleus of this problem. Your words, like whoever that guy, like your words, mate. I don't think people understand things like that. Like, we shouldn't, the debate between, I preferred the last manager than the new one. Why? Because he forced our board to make signings. Shouldn't really be one of the, you know, the tick box exercise we do when weighing up the pros and cons of Brendan or Ange. One forced our board. No, both of them should have been supported to the absolute maximum capacity that they should. And by the way, it's also a myth, because if you remember Ange having to speak out, and he's only been there about 2 weeks. Maybe I'm not doing a good enough job of getting my message through to get players in. There's what's that effect? I remember it was salty, right? Now people pat that on the back. Like, I pat on the back because that's what it took to do it. But now they go, well, why isn't Rodgers doing that? The last time he did that, you said that was him working his ticket. Right? The fucking, clearly the common denominator here is both managers have to find a way of forcing the board to make sensible footballing decisions that support their vision, and they are miles ahead in terms of the footballing knowledge they have than what Michael Nicholson, Peter Lawwell, ventriloquist puppets, whoever it fucking is, musical chairs group ever will be. No one should be forcing them to see how, like, you know, I'm telling you he's good. No, that shouldn't be force. That should be complete faith in the decision you make and respecting the position of employment that we gave you. You're employed to be a football manager. You know more about this shit than me. I'll support you to as much as I possibly can. You're a fucking chief of football operations. You know a hell of a lot more about football than me. I'll support you as much as I can. Instead, they wade in like fucking, leave the money, talk to us, guys. No money parts for Celtic. Money just comes in. So frustrating.
Big time. You said, do you think people would draw a line sometimes and know the common denominator between Ants having to dig them out and Rodgers the first time as well, remember? That it's the board that's the problem. Rather than seeing it as a positive for the manager that he's been good in digging them out. No, they shouldn't have to dig them out. It should be backing them properly when they bring them in and keeping them back and showing ambition. But the boardroom just need gutted whistle. It's just like an old boys club photo. I think in business terms already, it's supposed to change over board members at the most every 7 years. So, and a lot of them have been there 25 years. And when you've ever known a CEO that would leave and then come back and be chairman?
Non-executive chairman, thanks.
What exactly? That was a pretense at first, wasn't it? Non-executive chairman. That was dropped.
And amazing how they knew this said percentage I still talk about now that can't see the wood for the trees. Probably just a Celtic bias, and I do get it to a point. I'm not trying to have a pop, but they were pushing back even then. Yeah, non-executive chairman means, what does that mean? Well, why has he got the title? Why is he the only one at Celtic with chairman in his job title?
Exactly.
Because if he's the only one with chairman in it, then you better bet he's chairman. 12 months pass, Peter Lawwell chairman. Celtic describe him as that now. No announcement, he's moved up in his role. Peter's went from non-exec to now chairman. None of that. They took the piss out of you. Accept it. They ripped the fucking piss. In that meantime, he'd employed his son, shifted job titles for the likes of Nicholson and stuff, and honestly, just pulling the wool constantly. But I think it's like really easy to see through. They rely on the loyalty to Celtic that the supporters have deep down, or a core element, a huge fraction of do, a huge percentage of do, to be able to get away with this sort of bollocks. You know, it's honestly, it's bizarre. I want to talk about another thing that Brendan said at the presser, Mick. I think it's a good chat. I want your thoughts on it. KT came back, and we knew he was coming back, obviously, for a number of months. We, again, chatted about it on the bus. I'm sure they did on every podcast, every stand at Celtic. No one expects KT to be the one who could do 60 starts a season, right? He'll be managed. We all speculated that. There is a need, surely, though, when Rodgers is acknowledging that he's collagen, which I wasn't too familiar with that term, but basically said, such as his potentially as his collagen levels or whatever, that means basically essentially he's more injury prone, right? So we're going to be carefully managing him, and on the back of his injury record over the last few years. That is in plain sight, mate, right? Him saying KT will be taken off after an hour, 70 minutes, as and when possible. If there's resting games, for example, think he'll start against Falkirk. I don't. But what it meant to me when I was watching it is, fucking hell, the need for someone the manager's got faith in, again, a football guy, to be that alternative at left back. And I say alternative rather than backup, because the amount of minutes and starts they'll get when your KT's understudy is actually going to be absurdly higher than what a traditional backup, position for any, a backup player for any position would traditionally be. They're going to get a lot more time, game time. I think that's an area of the part that has to be identified, because the thing is as well with KT, you're not just saving his legs, but you're losing that quality in the park. And we'll talk about a guy that could have went to any of the top 5 leagues, mate, this summer, no problem. So that quality can't be a complete fucking drop off. Can't he be Liam Scales, mate? Expected to do that. And that's not even a slant on Liam Scales. We're talking about KT's fucking top draw player. But when you're getting acknowledgement from the manager, and we did suspect this for a long time, that his involvements could be, rotationally started, maybe less meaningful games, or games that we think have less jeopardy, could be rested for, or whether it be after an hour, we'll see where we're at. And if we think we can afford to take him off, we shall. That then tells me the other left back is going to be very different from a Tony Ralston being the backup right back. This is going to be someone doing treble, potentially quadruple the minutes that Tony Ralston would for Alistair Johnston. It's quite a decent advert to be able to put out as well for anyone involving as a player. Obviously, you'd be looking at the younger generation for it, but you can also go for a wee bit of quality considering what the manager said there.
Definitely. Also, I think it's telling as well, though, that he's not picked any Moura in any of the squads for any competitive games so far. And he's played Liam Scales as a left back when T.N.F is off. If that's not sending a message to the board that I need more quality in that area, and I don't know what is, it's just Moura might be good. We don't know. He'll probably go on loan, and he looked decent in pre-season. But it's already been good in friendlies. When it comes to league games, it's a lot more physical and quicker, and games like Europe. He's probably looked at him and said, no, he's not
trusted for that.
Yeah, he's not trusted for it.
And this is what I'm trying to say as well. You'd be going in for, arguably, in fact, probably, the best footballer at the club coming off for someone you're kind of giving his initiation to in Scottish football. That's a huge drop in standards for a position in the park. You're 2-0 up and you go for KT to a rookie. I don't think that's right. I think it would be someone should be massive potential, but also can recognise, fuck, that's a unique understudy role, because I'm going to get a hell of a lot more game time, hell of a lot more minutes than normal, and also work with KT as my sort of mentor. It's quite a sexy position for Celtic to be able to sell to someone, to be the, number 2, if you like, at left back. It's got a lot of plus points, but also it comes a responsibility on Celtic to go, you can't just chuck any fucking Tom, Dick and Harry in there, because the drop-off's too big when it comes to how good KT is in the first place. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. We got lucky. We even be able to bring T.N.F back. That's like a world-class player we've got, because he just wants to come home. He wants to play for his club. So they get lucky in that. I heard as well that T.N.F that contacted the club in January saying he wants to come back. So it's not if the board had to go and try and sign him. T.N.F contacted the board first about it, saying he wants to come back in January. And he couldn't even do that deal in January. So how easy do you have to make it? You know what I mean? And you just said, yes, he's that good. You can't have a massive drop off. Can't have if he's not going to be playing. And it's too much to put on him as well, expecting to play 60 games a season. It's not going to happen. And it even showed last season, I think Rodgers is basically saying it. He wanted to keep Taylor and what the two of them would get game time. Whether people wanted Taylor, that's a different argument. Right? I liked him. I would have kept him. But Rodgers made it clear that he wanted to keep Greg Taylor because he saw the
KT and Taylor as your left back would have been pretty cool for me.
I'd been happy with that.
No problem. No problem. One other thing when you're talking there though, about how it's KT who's having to flag to the board, contract's expiring, by the way. Hello, like it's me. Remember me? 25 million shekels? No. When it comes down to that, I don't know if you've seen the Benjamin Siegrist, remember him? The goalie who made a couple of appearances? Did you see his interview?
I've not seen it, no.
Wait for this. So, Siegrist has done an interview where basically when Rodgers came in, he realised that what Rodgers wanted from Siegrist basically essentially was, I think Siegrist has been kind to himself, saying he didn't see it the same way Ange did for me, i.e. he doesn't rate you, right? Cool. At one point, he knew via his agent the offers were coming in for him. Celtic didn't get back in touch for 4 weeks at one point. And he describes it, basically what he's saying, it's like they forgot. He said it very strange. Like, the whole point of the interview, he's a bit coy at the end, but the whole point of his interview is I think it's a halfway house expose of what he thinks is a strangely run football operation that he's now saying cost him months of his career because the deal wasn't done when it could have been done. And he generally was like, he's wondering how he's not going to a certain club. I'm going to come, not back for Celtic yet. He's like, what? 4 weeks passed.
4 weeks.
It's bizarre.
Wow.
That's at that level, mate, you know?
Oh, exactly. And it's just, it shows that, I dare say that happens with players we're bidding for as well. Forget about them. Put a bid in, then forget about it. Don't end up signing them. Like, even, we're talking about in January, that boy, young boy, the Norwegian boy, is it Oyuset or something? I can't remember how you pronounce it. To me, he looked a really good, really promising player. He just signed for 4.5 million.
Yeah, I seen that. There was a Norwegian winger we'd be like me signed for FC 20. Aye. This is what I'm saying. This is where it's so believable for Celtic to be the ones who've missed out or had an interest. But you can stick that at the bottom of almost any fucking article now with players in the 5 to 10 million bracket. Celtic have expressed an interest. Celtic are monitoring the situation. You'll lap it up because it's believable. It gets more clicks, it gets more views. You don't want to believe now. But you know the thing is, all the stories that you don't know, like, or have credence or could be believable, even if they're bullshit, they're always missing out ones. It's never ones of like, 14 million's the price tag, and we know Celtic are interested. You don't get a litany of them, even if they are made up. No. It's always in the realm of Celtic being on the outside, looking in as transfer deals get done. Mick, I'm going to call it there, mate. It's been a fantastic Thursday with you, mate. Brilliant to have you back in the bus as well. Really appreciate it. And as always, on the Thursday, we've got all the comments live on the screen throughout the show. So nothing gets missed as it's going up and down. And that shows as well and highlights the way that the bus passengers, if you like, viewers, all debate, proper debates, different views, all sound. And I love to see that. Mick, we'll get you on again soon. And I look forward to it. Everyone in the chat, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.